Hello, my name is Kelly Rojas, and this is my oral presentation on the physical abuse of children. In order to start out talking about physical abuse, we need a definition. The definition is any deliberate injury inflicted upon a child by an individual. That abuse can occur in any shape or form, whether that be with a material, an object, anything that is going to cause intentional physical harm, which can also result in broken bones, burns, frequent bruising, anything that is intentional to cause pain to another. The history of physical abuse on a child is very vast. It's been an ongoing issue. It was first documented in the 16th and 17th centuries with the case of Mary Ellen Wilson. This is Mary Ellen Wilson. She was placed into care when she was an infant. Her father had passed away. Her mother needed to go out to support her. What happened was Mary Ellen was given to this woman who was then compensated for providing care to Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen's mother could no longer afford to maintain that care, so the woman put Mary Ellen up for adoption. When Mary Ellen was adopted, she was adopted by two horrible individuals who beat her, whipped her, stabbed her. As you can see on the picture, or from the picture I should say, on her face is a laceration because she was struck in the head with a pair of scissors and cut by her mom. She also has visible bruising that is also healed and also seems very fresh. Mary Ellen was locked in closets for hours. She was forced to do heavy labor. She did not get a break from any of the abuse. When her parents would leave to go out, she was chained up like an animal in the home, and she was only allowed a little piece of rug to sit on. She was malnourished, and she was dying. The only woman who helped her was a neighbor by the name of Etta Wheeler. Etta Wheeler is somebody who was rooting for Mary Ellen. She was in Mary Ellen's corner and said, hey, something is not right. Mary Ellen was at the good graces of Etta. So what Etta did was she tried to get Mary Ellen out of the home. She could not get Mary Ellen out of the home because there were no services laws in place allowing her to do so. So Etta thought to herself, hey, we have avenues for our animals to go. We have laws protecting so cruel and punishment does not happen to our animals. Why don't we have that for individuals like Mary Ellen? Well, Etta made sure that Mary Ellen's case was publicized. So due to that outrage and the publicity from the case, the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children was formed. That is the, or was the future predecessor for Children and Youth Services. Mary Ellen was able to express her side of what has happened to her or what had happened to her in her life. And for the first 7 years of her life, she had nothing but physical abuse happen to her in conjunction with emotional abuse. Mary Ellen has a bright side to her story because when she grew up, she advocated for change. She lived a long, happy, healthy life, and she passed away at the age of 92. Continuing on with the history, it was declared in 1962 that physical child abuse could be diagnosed medically. So for the following 10 years, individual states enacted mandated reporting laws. In the social welfare system, in our jobs as social workers, we all know what mandated reporting is. That is if we suspect abuse, that suspected abuse gets reported to Childline, and Childline kind of takes it from there. I'll go into that a little bit in future slides. So that's how mandated reporting laws were enacted. Then the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act was passed in 1974, which protects the fair, ethical, and legal treatment of children. The current statistics are collected from the United States, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. There are 618,000 victims of child abuse. There are higher rates in children under 1 year old, and the victimization rate for females is higher than that of males. The highest victimization rate is from American Indian or Alaskan Natives, with the second highest rate coming from African American individuals. There are a plethora of risk factors that contribute to physical child abuse. Some are listed here, just very basic list, but domestic violence and drug and alcohol abuse being the main. Also low parental income, mental health, lack of parenting knowledge, honestly, and parental history of child abuse and neglect, high poverty rate, they're all risk factors. So the services, like I spoke about a little bit earlier, mandated reporting. So when a mandated reporter makes the report to Childline, the Childline then sends it to its respective county agency. That county agency goes out, investigates, and either makes a child protective case or a general protective case. So in CPS cases, investigations are required because there was a failure to act based on an pre-outlined law in the Child Protective Services law. If it was a GPS case, they are less intensive. They require assessments for other supports and services, typically within the home. So that would be something like maybe mom and dad need to go for drug and alcohol counseling. So they're going to make sure mom and dad sticks to their service plan, make sure the child's good in order for an out of placement to not occur. Out of home placement, I'm sorry. So the services that are continued to be child advocacy centers, they provide child-focused and facility-based programs at a multiple disciplinary level for both the children and families affected by the abuse. So the services provided could be anywhere from a medical evaluation, a therapeutic intervention, victim support, and advocacy. The list is very wide. They also partner with local community agencies and law enforcement. Preventing Child Abuse and Neglect, a technical package for policy norm and programmatic activities, was a great resource in me doing this project, but also in understanding the preventative strategies that are in place and how it modifies practices and policies along with societal norms. The whole objective of that is to create an environment that promotes healthy relationships. And it shows in that informational packet how to do so, the therapy techniques used. Very, very informational, just very lengthy, but it is a good resource. So the intervention used would be a trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy approach. The approach is twofold, and it aims at addressing presenting needs of children and adolescents with post-traumatic stress disorder and other issues related to traumatic events. The other related issues could be mood and anxiety disorders, depression, behavioral issues. The list goes on and on. It also provides education for parents and caregivers that promote positive coping skills, allows for positive parenting to take place, and proven forms of effective communication to happen. So really, it is a twofold approach, and that's how that can help be addressed. So the intervention at the micro level is when the social worker is directly responding to the presenting issue. They refer them to other professionals if needed, like a medical professional for an exam and evaluation, and it addresses the physical and mental needs of the child. At the meso level, it is an incorporation of family therapy, which focuses on addressing factors and safety issues within the family system. So it creates that environment in order for the child to thrive and the family to thrive too. That is where the advocacy centers also come into place and are effective. There can also be therapeutic self-help groups, often referred to by county agencies if they have a CPS or a GPS case already ongoing with their county. What I thought was also interesting is that there can be school groups such as Safe to Say. I know that is in our local high school, and I would hope it is in other high schools or schools in the region and beyond, because it allows for a safe environment in order to speak up about issues, whether that be bullying, abuse, anything. And I think that's a great platform to have for children so they don't feel all the pressure in expressing that they have an issue going on and they need help. At the macro level intervention, that's going to be where you advocate for change at the community, state, and national level. It ensures that the larger welfare system delivers appropriate supports and services to the individual, because the approach is not one-sided. It has to be a comprehensive approach to combating physical abuse of children. Lobbying for policy reform. Hopefully that lobbying will allow for an increase of funding streams and new services to be made to help the victims of this physical abuse. The development of safe havens. Also, what I think is extremely important is the use of social media to spread efforts of combating the physical abuse. If, in the case of Mary Ellen Wilson, in that time period, they were able to make her case go and be widely known, there's no reason in today's society and in today's culture that we can't make that happen. We have so many more resources available than Mary Ellen did in her time, and then that Etta did in her time. So we can definitely make change happen. We just have to be, persistent at it. So in conclusion, physical abuse of children is still going to be a widespread issue, because some people find the use of corporal punishment to be widely acceptable, whether that be due to a cultural norm or a learned parental behavior. So changing that mindset of parents and society is going to be key, because punitive punishment is not acceptable. We need to focus on educating and upholding child protective service laws. Children and youth services or agencies are put in place for a reason. We need to make sure that they are accountable, and we need to make sure that our lawmakers are held accountable. These children oftentimes do not have a voice. We are their voice, and we are one of the ways that they can have services put into place. So we need to do our job as social workers and really make moves for change happen for them. Also, we need to break the cycle of past, present, and future generations. If we break the preconceived norms or thought of knowledge of the past and parenting styles, that will help us now and in the future with other generations, showing that physical abuse is not okay, and recognizing that physical abuse co-occurs with emotional abuse. It's not one-sided. The physical abuse also is triggered with the emotional abuse. So when doing therapies in future, combating both of those issues or finding therapeutic practices that allows both of those to be worked on at the same time is going to be beneficial for the client. Social workers must educate. We must educate the child, the family, society at large. The long and the short of it is we need to break the cycle of abuse in any way that we can. So being that, advocate for change, talking about the issues that may be a little bit hard is going to be helpful in combating this issue and hopefully eliminating at one point in time, hopefully in the near future. So these are my references, and that's pretty much about it. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed.